I am going to start. I see folks joining the webinar, and so I'll give everyone some time to join in. I'm Michael Diamond. I'm the Academic Director of the Integrated Marketing and Communications Department here at the School of Professional Studies, working in the Division of Programs in Business. And it's absolutely my delight to welcome Justina Nixon-Saintil to our community today. As many of you know, Justina heads up corporate social responsibility for IBM. And I know I, like all of you, are absolutely fascinated to hear what she has to say about the journey that IBM has been on and the role more broadly that companies can play in fulfilling their responsibility to society and a wider set of stakeholders. And particularly interested in this idea of good tech, which is very close to the heart, obviously, of IBM's mission. I'm old enough to have known IBM as Big Blue and seen its many business transformations. It's studied, obviously, by business schools and marketing programs around the world through its many dances with elephants and all sorts of other topics that were discussed. And it's absolutely fascinating now to see how this giant and very storied brand is taking on its wider, obligations to society. So absolutely delighted to welcome Justina to our community. And I want to thank, as always, my colleague, George Benaroya, who curates these just extraordinarily impactful experiences for our students and graciously shares them with a larger community. And I want to thank him and his students in the Finance for Marketing Decisions program, which he teaches within our Masters in Integrated Marketing and at the school. So without further ado, George, if the timing works, I will hand things back to you. I'll pop on mute so you don't hear me rustling in the background, but I'll be right here. So.
Great. Excellent. Thanks very much, Michael. And let me turn our video. Patrick, I don't know if you can. Perfect. Alrighty, so yes, welcome everyone. My name is George Benaroya. Thanks, Michael, for that intro. And during the day, as I like to call it, I work as a CFO. I started my career at Procter & Gamble, then Tetra Pak, Nivea, and now with private equity. Now, once per week, I do something that I love, and that is to teach this class. And I want to explain to you what we're doing in this class. So you have joined a real class going on now at NYU School of Professional Studies. And the way we do this is that these students right here, in their first session, they pick a company, any company that they want from the Fortune 500, and they pick IBM. And then each week we learn how these companies make business decisions to learn about finance. So the first decision that they have to make is about headcount. And in this case, what Julia did is to look at the revenue over the last few years and come up with a few options for IBM. Regina figured that we should focus in trying to get more people working in marketing for CSR, and she gave all the reasons. Now, the idea in this class is that there are no right or wrong numbers. What we try to do is to learn how to use numbers in a meaningful way to persuade others. So Olivia went for a 3% headcount increase, and she explained why for each line. The other decision that we have to make sometimes is, what do we do if there is a lot of demand and we don't have enough product? And in that case, we have to decide whether to prioritize old clients or new clients. And this is how Amy did it. Now, what is interesting about this class is that 2 years ago, before the pandemic, some students felt that we should prioritize new customers, new clients to get their business. But during the pandemic last year, no one did. How do you increase prices? So Rekia basically made a recommendation for a 2% price increase overall. That's $760 million. But she explained that we have to do it for 0% in some cases and 14% in others. How do you explain a price increase to customers. So this is how Kristen would do it. And when I look at these slides, they look so real to me that sometimes I'm tempted on calling that phone number right there. Then what do you do if your clients reject the price increase? So we learn how to manage that in this class. And finally, what we do is we invite executives from these companies who are making those decisions in real life to tell us how they do it. And as Michael said, today we have with us Justina Nixon Saint-Hill, the global head of corporate social responsibility at IBM. Now, I'd like to make my introductions a bit more personal. And if I was to introduce Justina, what I would say about her is that she's a mother. She's an engineer who, when she was a kid, she loved to, look at how things work and so on. She got an MBA at NYU at Stern. She's an immigrant from Dominica, and she cares about education. And I want to share two examples. IBM has a program called Skills Build, where if you have no IT training, you can get about 1,000 classes for free on data analytics, cybersecurity, and be ready for a job in 6 months. There is another program called P-Tech, where if you're a high school student, you get to take some college classes and you have a chance to get a paid internship. There are 1,000 paid internships at IBM. And you get to earn an associate degree. For those of you who are in Europe, basically a 2-year college degree for free. And I would like to end my introduction by saying a quote that I'm borrowing from Justine that I love. She once said, "The zip code or the postal code should not determine your future." So please join me to welcome Justina Nixon Saint-Hill.
Wow, thank you. What an introduction. You have really done your research. I love it. So thank you so much for having me here. It's a pleasure for me to be back at NYU. I know this is virtual, but to be back here to talk to all of you about CSR. So really, really appreciate the introduction and the invitation.
Excellent. Well, thanks very much. And I'll explain to the rest the way we're doing. So all the questions will be asked by students themselves. Now, if you are not at NYU or taking this class, you can still ask questions, and I will show you how others have done it. It's best if you send it to us about 2 weeks before, because we get hundreds of them. But if you still have some questions that you would like to ask, you can go into the Q&A and we'll try to get to that timing. Now, I will only ask one question. It's a bit for the background. And I'll share my screen once again to give everyone the background. My question really is about why is IBM so successful at CSR? So last semester, we had another chief communications officer from one of the top 10 global brands. And he shared with us how sometimes it's hard to persuade everyone, right? There will be some colleagues or some customers in parts of the US who will not embrace the idea, in this case, of environment. And yet IBM is doing something right. Fortune magazine named IBM #1 on social responsibility. And so the question that we have is, why is IBM so good at it? What can we learn from IBM?
Yeah, so I've been at IBM now for almost 10 months. Prior to coming to IBM, I was at Verizon working on eliminating the digital divide for low-income students, for under-resourced populations. And I came to IBM because of their reputation in CSR. What I really loved about the work at IBM was that it's a company that's not afraid to take on the biggest challenges. And it's a company that's just so full of the smartest, most passionate people who really come together to figure out, how do we solve a problem holistically? It's not a one-off. It's not just, a quick thing that we want to do. We really think deeply about what's the biggest challenge we want to solve, and how do we bring all of our assets together to solve it? Our talent, right? Our expertise and our technology. So when we go back and look at some of the programs we've done, like over 50 years ago, IBM, I believe, was probably, if not the first, one of the first companies that really took a stand on environmental policy. This was before, I mean, now all companies are, making the commitments to be net zero by 2030. But back 50 years ago, it was not something that was top of mind for many companies, and IBM was at the forefront of this. 10 years ago, we started the PTech program, which was a state ed reform program. It was a way to change education starting in the US, and then we expanded the program globally, and we're now up to 300 schools globally in the program. But it really was around how do we make sure disadvantaged youth get a free high school degree and a community college degree, at once, right? Completely free, and they have the technical skills and everything that they need to be able to get a job, at least starting with an internship at a company and then obtaining a job. So again, we don't do things that I consider to be easy. These are programs that we think deeply about, where we want to make huge systemic change overall. George mentioned Skills Build. It's a program that we recently launched where we provide free training on cybersecurity and AI and cloud and even quantum, which is a new technology that IBM is spearheading. We want to make sure that we are not leaving populations behind as we, disrupt and as we continue to move forward and innovate with these new technologies. So we're looking at that holistically. It's not just the training, but how do we provide coaching and mentoring? How do we connect people on our platform to real job opportunities? How do we think later on about learning credential networks so that the badges and credentials we give to everyone through this program are recognized by employers everywhere? So we think about all the different pieces and parts of our CSR work to provide a really holistic program that really leverages our expertise and our technology. And it's not something that we do for a short period of time. It's something that we really commit to, and we're in it for the long run. So I think that's why IBM has been at the top of many of these lists of best corporate social responsibility programming, greatest societal impact. And we're a global company. So when we think about any of these initiatives, we think about how do we scale them? So it's not being done in one country. It's not just one location. How do we make sure that whatever we create is scalable and we could reach the masses? So that's why I'm really proud of the work we've done, and really, really proud of IBM's impact in society and with CSR.
Yeah, and I think we have two questions a bit building on that, right? On how CSR helps people. And the first one will be asked by Vanessa.
So hi, Justina, I'm Vanessa, and I'm on behalf of Melody. And she said, when seeing the IBM report for CSR, I saw IBM provides opportunities for people to develop their digital skills to empower their career paths. Especially for Skills Build, I see learners with no IT experience can participate in hands-on projects. So among those projects, were there any inspiring results that you remember?
Yeah, so that's correct. When you look at the programs and when we focus just on Skills Build, right? So Skills Build is a program. It's not just a platform, it's a program. And through Skills Build, we cater to students in high school who just, I'll use cybersecurity as an example because it's the most accessed content on the side. You see high school students who just want to understand what cybersecurity is, right? They think this is a really great profession. They want exposure to it and they want to understand it. And then you have job seekers who are actually accessing the content and the training, and they're receiving a badge and a credential. So we have so many stories where you may have a refugee. I think one of the stories that impacted me the most, I think there was a refugee who was in Canada who actually accessed our content, got the credential, and they were able to get a job. And again, our focus is not on taking away the meaning of a 4-year degree. Absolutely. I mean, I have an advanced degree I started with mechanical engineering, and as you guys know, I have an MBA as well from NYU. We're not taking away from that experience and the skills that you get through that, but we also want to give people options that if you don't have a 4-year degree, or you don't have the money to obtain one, or if it's something where you're later on in your life and you want to even switch careers, you have an option of getting a new set of skills that are credentialed, and you can go to an employer and they'll know how you obtain those skills, and they know that you are qualified for that job. And that's really what it's about. So it's an entry level, it's a way for entry level jobs, but it's also a way for upskilling and for some advanced credentials and jobs as well. So it's open to everyone, high school and above. But we have so many stories of impact where we've had participants, job seekers, who have accessed the content, gotten the training, gotten the credentials, and now they have really meaningful jobs where they could take care of themselves, they could take care of their families, and we are increasing their social and economic mobility in that way.
Look, Justina, my boss is watching, so I'm supposed to behave, but if not, I will stand up now and start clapping. I think that is beautiful. I really do. So some students are in Asia, and I told them, listen, you got to go to school tomorrow, so go to bed. Don't worry, you'll get the recording. But we'll play a question from one of them. Her name is Cleone. Patrick, I don't know if you can do it now.
Hello, Justina. My name is Cleone, and I'm from Indonesia. My question is, as technology continues to improve, how does IBM help older people adjust to new technologies? Thank you.
Hi, wonderful. So we work with nonprofit organizations that work with different populations around the training and the skills we provide. So we have digital literacy training as part of our programming on our platform, but the best way that we reach very specific groups, whether it's the elderly, whether it's women who've been left out of the technology fields, whether in the US it's Black and Brown communities, in other countries it may be refugees, it's low income, marginalized populations. The best way to reach them is through nonprofit organization partnerships. So we work with nonprofits where we provide the training around our content, we provide access to the platform and the credentials, and they then work with the different populations to make sure that they have the training and the support they need. So that's how we're able to reach even people who are older, who need more digital literacy skills. We reach them through our nonprofit partnerships to do so.
Okay, thanks very much. So on the third part, we want to look at why CSR is good for business. And let me show you again some slides, actually just one. So when we do research, what we see is that investors want to look at companies that care about CSR. If you go, for example, to Fidelity Investments, they only have 7 categories, and one's just for that. Research by Nielsen shows that consumers are willing to pay more for companies who care about CSR or social responsibility. The younger they are, the more willing that they are to pay more. So the next segment has 6 questions, and it's all about why CSR is good for business.
Yeah.
And the first question here will be from Sanjana, and she's also remote. She has recorded. She's asking this question from Asia. So Patrick, you will play that one.
Hi, my name is Sanjana Lakshmi, and I'm a 16-year-old student studying at School of the Arts, Singapore. So my question for today is, how does CSR benefit a brand, and how can we measure the effectiveness of a CSR event? Thank you.
Wow, 16, very cool. So CSR helps your brand in a number of ways, but it's not just the brand that it helps. It helps your client engagement. It helps with employees as well. It helps to attract talent. So when you think about, and it's not just young people, I think there's an idea that CSR really only resonates with young people, but I think overall, it's something that everyone is focused on. So when you're making a decision as to what company you want to work for, most people now do research, right? What are the companies doing in society? How are they helping others? So the fact that we have robust CSR programs really helps people make a decision on, is this a company that I would want to work for? And then how can I engage? So once you have employees and they now have joined the company, they're not only proud of the work that you're doing in the CSR space, but they also want to know, how do I engage, right? How can I volunteer? How can I mentor and coach job seekers or young people and help them as well? So at IBM, we have a robust number of employees, a significant percentage that are working with us on a number of employee volunteerism efforts. And they're engaged with our schools, they are engaged with our Skills Build program, and they're engaged with the work that we're doing around the environment and sustainability as well. In fact, we have a whole group of IBMers who are part of what we call IBMers for the environment. So employees are really proud of that, right? And it's a retention a vehicle for companies as well. So not just attracting talent, but retaining talent as well. So that's one of the biggest benefits of CSR. The other benefit of it is societal impact, right? So you want to make sure that the work you're doing is making a difference in society. It's not just a one-off or an event you're having. You want to actually measure what it means, right, to launch a program. So for example, when we look at P-TECH, how many schools and students have we reached? That's great. That's just an initial number that we look at reach. But then we go deeper. How many students have graduated from the program? How many students have actually gotten a job? How many students have gone on to a 4-year degree? We track all of that data because we want to make sure that our programs are having an impact, a longer term impact. Even Skills Build, when we look at the data, we look at how many people are moving through our programs and getting employment, right? Because in the end, that's the impact we want to have, right? Whether you get a better job within your company, within your career path, or you're able to get a new job that again provides a better living for yourself and your family. So we really track the effectiveness of our programs in that way. The impact is very important to us, and that's what we consider to be our return on investment. And we look at that data, right? How much money are we investing? How many people are we impacting? But then what's the longer term impact of our work? And then when you look around client engagement, right? So we talked about retention, we talked about attracting talent, we talked about measuring the impact of work in society. And then we also engage our clients, right? We want clients to know that we're doing this kind of work. So that's a way that, we engage with them, but we also bring them into our work, right? So with P-TECH, we actually work with clients to adopt schools, to provide job opportunities for students as well, to be able to provide workplace learning opportunities for them. So we're able to use our CSR work to engage our clients and have a better relationship with them. So that's another way that it makes a difference. And then finally, our brand, right? We do studies to show what is the impact to our brand, right? Do people identify, IBM as a responsible company? Do they know the work that we're doing in society? Is there more brand affinity? Do they like us more, right? Do they have more affinity towards IBM because they understand the work that we're doing and the impact? So we also measure that through studies that we do to see, are we seeing an increase in brand affinity, based on the CSR initiatives that we have created and launched and we continue to support. So those are the ways that we see an impact on our business through our CSR work.
Justina, just a quick follow-up. Imagine that these schools, right, they were a brand. And so the principal of that school, is he proud about the fact that he has, IBM to do it? What happens when you talk to them, to the principals in the different high schools and so on?
Oh, yeah, amazing. So first of all, IBM is just an amazing company. This is a 110-year-old company. And I joke because I'm a mechanical engineer. So when I went to undergrad, I had to take Fortran. So I'm dating myself. For those of you, the young people in the room probably don't even know what Fortran is. But it was a precursor, of course, to C, C++, and all the coding languages that came after. And it wasn't until I came into IBM that I found out that IBM created Fortran, which was, by the way, one of the hardest courses I ever took in undergrad. But this is a company that's a very respected company. So the fact is, when we work with schools, when we work with students, when we work with principals and teachers, they really like that engagement with IBM, but not just IBM, the company or the brand, it's the people, right? So when you have physicists and engineers and people who are working in data analytics and cybersecurity and, finance, any area of IBM where we are engaging with them and their students, and we bring in IBMers in to talk to them, to work with them, to be a part of like our service corps programs, people really enjoy that, and they really like that engagement, and they really love to see that IBM is really authentic and passionate about what we do. And I think that's what makes a difference. To me, that's even beyond the brand. It's really the authenticity of the company, and also the passion and expertise of our people. And the fact is that they want to continue to engage and support our communities.
Right. Yeah. We get a question from Tian Patrick. Were we able to have Tian log in?
Yes, sir. There he is.
Hi, Justina. I'm Tian. So my question for you is that from a marketing perspective, how do you think having CSRs for IBM can make a difference from other competitors? What do you think is the most essential CSR program for IBM so far? Thank you.
Yeah, so from a marketing perspective, I think the way that we stand out is a number of different ways. Number one, we have a long history of leadership in education, right? And in CSR overall. And there are not a lot of companies that can say this. So again, it goes back to the fact that we are very authentic. We care deeply about what we do, and we think about our work in a holistic way. Again, not just a one-off. So I think that's where we stand out from others. The second thing is we don't do short-term programs. So even when you think about P-TECH, it's a 4 to 6 year program that really enables students to get, again, a free high school and associate's degree and then get a job. So it's not a short-term program. It's not a 1 week and done. We really make sure that it's meaningful for participants, and it's long-term and it's deep. So I think that makes us stand out from others as well. Even when you look at Skills Build, as I mentioned earlier, we made sure that if you were accessing our platform or part of our Skills Build program, you take 3 months minimum just to get a credential in something. It's not something that's done quickly. It's very thoughtful, and we engage with you through our IBMers. We provide job, at least opportunities at interviews for jobs. We make sure we provide a full experience around the programming that we do. And not everyone does that. So I think that's how we stand out. The other thing too is, this is a very innovative company. We're at the cutting edge of technology. So we understand what skills are needed to be successful, and we embed that in our work. We have teams working on quantum. So we have some programs where we provide exposure to what quantum means, even for high school students. We're leading in like hybrid cloud and AI in so many areas. So we have the technologies that we are skilling people on, and we bring that expertise into our work. And I think that's another way that we really stand out from the crowd. And that's another way that we could really market ourselves and have unique propositions around our work.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks very much. As an intro to the next question, so one of the things that we learn in class nowadays is that everything's electronic, that instead of having to read the whole annual report, you can do Control F and search for something, right? And so we look at the annual reports of the 10 top Fortune 500 companies looking for the word ESG or CSR. And 80% of them didn't have it at all. And that surprises. And the next question is from Regina, and she's going to build on that.
Hi, Justina. My name is Regina. And my question is, I noticed that the annual report only mentions the ESG part. Is there a reason why we don't elaborate more on the CSR activities? Thank you.
Yeah, so part of my role at IBM is to lead our ESG stakeholdering and reporting as well. And one of the things that we publish every year is an annual corporate responsibility report. So although the annual report just touches on ESG, we have another report that we publish every year that covers all of our CSR activities and goes more in depth. And that's the report where we really dive into what does it mean to be a good tech company? Everything from, how are we using AI? How are we using blockchain? What are we doing in sustainability? And then what are we doing with our education and skills work, diversity and inclusion, et cetera. So we use that report to provide a deeper view into what IBM is doing from an ESG and CSR perspective. Most companies don't bring all of that information in their annual report. There's a lot that they need to do in the annual report, and it's more of a financial report versus a corporate responsibility report. It's a non-financial report where we can go deeper in these activities.
Yeah, the CSR report that IBM publishes is real good if you think about it. They read all 48 pages, and all the questions are because of what they learned from the CSR report. It's a real good document. The next question is coming from Julia. She's also in Singapore. And Patrick.
Hi, my name is Julia. I'm 14 years old and I live in Singapore. My question for Justina is that IBM mainly has corporate customers, which are generally profit-orientated, whereas CSR supporters are younger people like myself. So, which target group does IBM have in mind when communicating their CSR initiatives? Thank you.
Wow, 14. So impressed with the young people who are participating in this course, George. So a couple of things, IBM is a B2B company. So definitely we do want to focus and bring awareness to our CSR activities to our clients and other businesses as well, right? Businesses want to do business with other businesses who are making a difference, who are responsible companies. So definitely that is part of our focus. However, we also are interested in the mind share among all stakeholders, right? Society at large, young people who we may want to attract to IBM, right? For employment, general consumers. The bottom line is we do want to bring awareness to everyone that IBM is a responsible company and we are doing good in society. Now, it does make a difference the channels we use. You probably won't see us focusing as much on Facebook, around the work that we do. We probably do more on LinkedIn because that's where we can engage not just with future employees, but also with businesses as well. So it does make a difference, the channels that we use to bring awareness to our work. But overall, we do want to bring awareness to everything that we do across a number of different stakeholders, and we create different ways that we could reach them, even investors. There are certain channels that we reach investors with our work, certain channels that we reach clients with our work, and then overall certain channels we use to reach, consumers and society at large. But we consider all of them to be a part of our portfolio and where we want to make sure that we have mind share.
Yeah, I must confess that I work in finance. I'm also older, and I wasn't really paying that much attention, right? I would listen to the presentations and so on, but teaching at NYU, I've been doing this now for 2 years. They kept asking about CSR, right? So I think that younger people are really, forcing us to be more, be more mindful of the challenges that they're presenting about CSR and so on. So it's quite healthy in that sense. Okay, our next question will come from, it's actually from Sveta, but it'll be asked by Rekia. So.
Hi, Justina. My name is Rekia, and I will be asking my question on behalf of Sweta. How do you select the CSR initiatives when there are so many options? Is there a particular set of criteria while selecting and launching a new initiative? What is your evaluation process like? Thank you.
All right, great. So the first thing that we do before we even start thinking about selecting organizations is what's going to be our focus? What are the areas that we are going to have as our primary pillars within CSR? So when I joined IBM at the middle of December, we looked across our portfolio and said, okay, we have a long history in education and skills, and this is one of the biggest societal issues that we have, because if you're not educated, it leads to income inequality and so many other issues, right? So we're going to continue to focus on education and skills as one of our biggest pillars here. The other area is sustainability. You know, as I mentioned, you know, we made a commitment to be net zero by 2030. IBM has been focused on the environment for over 50 years. This is an area that's important to our business. We're going to continue to focus on it from a CSR perspective. And then our volunteerism work, again, very robust. And it's a way that, you know, we have, you know, employees who are engaged and really enjoy supporting our communities. We're going to continue to focus on that and ramp up those efforts. So we made a decision that those are the three big areas that we're going to focus on: education and skills, sustainability, and our employee volunteerism and giving. Now, once you get underneath each of those things, you have to make a decision. What are the programs that I'm going to launch, right? So we designed the right programs internally, and Skills Build, I'll use that as an example, is a program that was created by, you know, our team. We came up with the idea to create a digital platform to create the content, you know, and the instruction and the entire pathway for users and participants and learners, right? And it's underpinned by our cloud and also underpinned by our AI technology as well. So we created the program, and then what we're doing now is working with nonprofit organizations to take it to the next level, right? How do we partner with nonprofits to really bring the content and the training to those people who need it the most? So the couple of things that happen along the way. Number one, we don't just create this in a silo. We want to make sure that we have input from a number of different organizations and experts and other people as we're creating those programs. So it's not just us creating it, but it's really a group, a system of people that are helping us create the right content, the right pathways, and so forth. So that's one thing. The second thing is, as we think about the right nonprofit organizations to work with, we do have very specific criteria. And one of them goes back to the measurement of the effectiveness of our work that I referenced earlier. We will not work with a nonprofit that cannot provide some data around impact, right? So even as we think about how we work with you, number one, are you going to be able to leverage the resources that we provide to you? Can we also partner with you with our IBMers? Can we bring our IBMers in as mentors and coaches as well? And then are you able to measure and evaluate the impact of the work? Can you tell us how many people you've reached? How many people were able to get skilled? How many people you're connecting to job opportunities? So we work with nonprofits that can partner with us in that way and provide that type of information and data back to us as well. And nonprofits where their mission aligns with our mission, right? So if you're not also focused on helping, you know, under-resourced or marginalized populations or women or veterans, the people that we are trying to reach with our programming, if you're not focused on helping those groups, then that's probably not an organization we'll partner with. So their mission and our mission have to align, but then we also want to make sure that we are getting the right data and we are working with them in a way that they, you know, they can take full advantage of the resources and the partnership and the support that we provide. So that's how we make a decision on which organizations to partner with across our work.
Justina, if you think about it, so most of our students are marketeers, but either as an engineer or someone working in finance. That's really about project management, right? And it's real hard. So maybe if you could give us some tips, like for example, you know, in real life, they will have hundreds of ideas, right? For marketing or for finance, or how do you guys go about that if you have hundreds, right? How do you prioritize it? Building on what you were saying, but then more like in real life. Like, do you do it by country? Do you do it by region? How do you do it, that prioritization?
Yeah, so first of all, we're a global company, so you're right. We have a lot of organizations that want to work with us and partner with us. I think, you know, it's a process where, again, we start with what is the mission alignment, right? How does our mission align with you? Is this an organization that's going to be able to leverage what we provide and really make an impact? We also have a trust and compliance process. I don't want to leave that out. So just because an organization may be interested and want to work with us, for them to be able to actually move through the process, obtain grant funding from us, for example, we do have a process that we have them go through to make sure that their organization is in good standing. So we use all of those ways to have a final list of organizations we work with. But we usually have rubrics. For example, George, if we launch an open proposal process, which we don't usually do on a regular basis, but if we do launch that and we have a lot of organizations that apply, then we have a rubric that we use to down select, which are the right organizations to work with. Do they understand how we want to work with them? Do they have the resources and the capacity to work with us? And then we make certain decisions there. And we also make it based on where IBM has priority locations, right? We are a global company, but we also want to focus in on areas where we have an employee base or where we have a robust client base or where we have a lot of business. So we use that as part of our decision making as well. But usually, because we don't have an open system where any organization can apply to be a partner with us, we usually do the outreach, right? So we work directly with organizations that we know would be a good fit for us and a good match for our work. And then in many cases, we'll reach out to them directly to see if they want to partner with us.
Thanks, that was quite useful, I think, for project management. Okay, the next question, let me see, the one about small businesses. Should we do the one by Anisha? Yeah. All right, here, sorry. This way down, yeah.
Hi, Justina. My name is Anisha. I'm asking this question on behalf of Warren. How can small businesses evaluate whether they need to do a CSR program or not? Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So I think whether you're a small business, medium business, or large business, you should really look at creating a CSR program. You do that based on the resources you have, your employee base, but even something as small as you look at your local community and you see what the need is. It may be that your employees may want to just donate backpacks, right, to local students in the area who may not be fortunate to have access to resources for school, right? So it could be as simple as that, a way that your employees can engage in some way to support the community. You could also look at other programs that larger companies are supporting or other programs that have been established. An example is P-TECH. A small business in a location where we have a P-TECH school can absolutely partner with the school to provide some workplace learning opportunities, to bring students in to see, how a small business is run, to provide some expertise from their employees, right, around entrepreneurship, for example. So you can look to see where there are programs already in place that you could plug into, so you don't have to create one of your own. But if you wanted to create something, I think the easiest and best way for a small business to engage is through employees, right? How do you rally your employees around a cause in your community? And how do you make sure that they work together to support, an initiative in that community? And I think that's the way small businesses, should focus on CSR.
Yeah, those are some real good examples. So the P-TECH will work like if I am a small business, say in Brooklyn, I could just reach out to that school and then I could provide some internship and coaching for students, and it's a win-win, right?
It's a win-win. And, the thing about schools, even if you have a small number of students participate in the program, that's a huge win, right? Because a lot of schools that we work with are in very low income areas. And these are students that don't always have the exposure to businesses, to how it works, to the workplace. So even partnering with a school and bringing in a few students into your small businesses, giving them an opportunity at an internship, providing again that access to workplace learning and workplace skills, that's a huge benefit for those schools. So that's just an easy way to partner and connect with what's happening in your community.
Yeah, I fully agree. And also the students get all the coaching from that, say, more senior person who will show him or her how to do it and so on. Yeah. So it's a real, real good idea. So what has happened is that, we have made these questions open, right, to everyone. That's why you're getting questions from 14 years old and so on. And, we have basically probably about 30 or 40 questions about you as a person, right? So they look up to you. You've seen the posts that some of them are making and so on. And so we have time, I think, for 2 or 3 of those questions. But this last part is really about you as a person, right? And the first one will be, I think it's from Dana. Patrick, you want to play that one?
Good evening, Justina. My name is Dina Saram from Italy, Milan, and my question for you today is, how did you start working at IBM, and what is the most valuable lesson you've learned while working at the company? Thank you so much.
So I absolutely love working at IBM. What attracted me to IBM were 3 things. Number one, this is a 110-year-old company. I know I've said this many times, but to be in a company that is so big and well respected like IBM, that was very attractive to me. It's a global company. And, although I spent a lot of my career at Verizon, being able to lead a CSR function for a big global company, that was also something that I was really interested in doing. So those are 2. And then the third was IBM is working on some really interesting things. When you read about what they've done in the past around technology, how they are moving forward, I'm still, finding my way around this, but understanding quantum and hybrid cloud and, understanding more about AI, those were very interesting to me, right? I'm a techie at heart. I'm an engineer, and understanding a new set of technologies and how they work and how we can leverage those technologies to have a societal impact, that was a challenge that I really wanted to take on. So those were the 3 things that really, really interested me about IBM and why I wanted to work here. What have I learned so far? This is a huge company. So it is a huge global company. And that means you can't do anything really alone or in silo. You have to really work with a number of different teams and groups and just really, great people to be able to move the needle for most of your work. So I'm still learning my way around the business. I'm making great connections, but what I can tell you is when people come together and make a decision and they want to work with you on a cause, it's just the best thing in the world. And that happens very frequently, at IBM in my work. So I'm excited. It is a challenge, but I'm really excited about it as well.
Great, excellent. Michael or Jay, I don't know if you have seen any questions. Maybe we could grab one question that has come in.
I don't know if you can hear me, but there were some questions back. Patrick, you can take me. You've locked my video, I think. It's probably sometimes a good thing to do. But there was some questions back on the volunteer. IBM, long time, known for its service program, and maybe you could comment a bit about that. And maybe I have a chance, George, to follow up with a question of my own as well. So
yeah, I see the question in Q&A. I'm happy to answer it. So George, let me know, or Michael, if you just want to jump in.
Yeah, jump in. Yep.
Yeah, so the question is about our long-time IBM, corporate service corps program. And yes, we continue to support Service Corps. So for those who don't know, Service Corps is where IBMers actually, travel, and sometimes it's within your own country, but most times you're traveling to another country, another community, and you're working with nonprofit organizations to solve a challenge locally. And you can spend weeks, maybe even months in that location working with the nonprofit. We still have that program. As you could imagine, COVID has changed how we implement it. So we're doing a lot more virtual engagements now within Service Corps, still supporting nonprofits, still bringing our expertise to the table and working with organizations to solve big challenges that they have in their communities. But post-pandemic, once we have more of an ability to travel again, we'll start ramping up that part of the program. But it continues, and we've gotten some just really great results from that program. Just one quick example of this, just earlier this year, we launched a program around cybersecurity for school districts in the US. And that's part of a Service Corps program where our experts within IBM, especially those that work in the cyberspace, in the security space within IBM, will be working with school districts to help shore up their cybersecurity efforts. And that's a great way that we're leveraging, this program and our experts within IBM through Service Corps.
I think it's wonderful. I think it's well known as well, which is, it's great that that's part of the brand, My question, if you allow me, is perhaps to ask you, how do you think as a company, or how do you think companies more generally should think about some of the more politically sensitive issues today there, and what role you take as IBM, questions like, racial justice or voting rights and some of these issues.
Yeah.
How does that calculus work through your system, and what thoughts and recommendations do you have for companies?
Yeah, so IBM has not shied away from taking a stance on many of these things. I remember even before I came on board last summer, they made sure everyone knew that they were not doing anything around facial recognition, for example. And that was something that was very important for us to make sure that we got across. Voting rights. I think, when the issue happened in Georgia, we made a statement. We're very, we're politically active in that way, where if we see something where we need to stand up and take a stance, we do that. We can't do that for everything. I mean, there are tons of social issues and other issues that are occurring today, but we think very carefully about where we want to put a lot of time and effort, and then we don't shy away from it. And I'm really proud of that. We do that, quite often.
Thank you.
Great. And I think our last question will be from Grace.
Hi.
Hi, Grace.
I taught George class last semester, so I'm super honored to be here. So my question is, what would you recommend to students who might want to have a career in CSR? Are there any skill set that we need to have? Thank you.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. The first thing I would say is when you really think about CSR and social impact, you don't have to be in a CSR organization to be able to do good right within your company. I think where CSR is really going is, if you're working on product development, how are you thinking about the communities that you are selling the product to, right? How are you thinking about, impact, right, in that way? So just the first thing is, you can make a difference no matter where you are in a corporate entity, whether you are in a job, making sure that the work you're doing, you're considering the impact of communities, of society as a whole. So that's the first thing. And even as an engineer, that was what actually attracted me to engineering early on, was that I can actually create products, right, that could have an impact, a positive impact in society. And one of my first jobs was to secure tanks in a nuclear facility so that the slurry would not leak into the water. That's social impact right there. So you don't have to be in CSR to do that. Now, if you want to be in CSR, in my entire career in this space, I have worked with people with many different backgrounds, many different. Again, I'm an engineer. I've worked with people with legal backgrounds, education backgrounds, marketing backgrounds. So I don't think you have to have a special degree to be in CSR, but I think you have to figure out, what do you bring to the table, right? What is the skill set that you have that can support a mission of CSR? So for example, there are people in my organization that are really, really great program and project managers. That's needed. I mean, George mentioned this earlier. When you make decisions about what organizations you're going to work with, right? What are the rubrics? How do you down select? Just project managing all of that from beginning to end, all the way to supporting nonprofits with implementation of programs. You need strong project managers and program managers to do that. There's a design aspect to it. There's a technical aspect to it. So I have a team that created Skills Build, the platform, right? So we have a lot of technical expertise there creating these programs. There's expertise around instruction and content. There's the financial expertise as well. There's a team that manages the finances and operations. You need a really strong finance background for that, obviously. But there's a lot of trust and compliance and regulations around CSR where that comes in handy, right? So I would say you have to decide what part of CSR you want to be a part of. If you have a really great background in sustainability or environment, and it's something where you either have a passion for it or you have expertise in it, that also is something that could be of benefit to a CSR organization. So I've seen very varied backgrounds. I think you want to understand what you want to do, how your expertise connects with what the organization is driving and doing. And then you have to do that outreach, have the discussions with the right people, see where it aligns, and see where you can get an opportunity.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Okay, we'll go now through the thank you process. And, we'll have some students who are not in the class also speaking about that. But I also want to thank some of my colleagues who made all this possible. Let me see if I can get to my desktop. And so there are 4 colleagues. The first one is, let me see if I can, I don't know if it's sharing already the screen. Let me try it again. We went into the wrong one. Okay, so there are 4 people. The first one is Kevin, and he was, helping me out to set up the camera and the computers and so on. Robin helped us promote all these events. Patrick has been on the back of the control room, making sure that everything plays well. And Michael is the person who lets me do all this. So to all of them, thanks very much. And Patrick, I think you have a video from some of our students, right?
Hi, Justina. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. It is a great opportunity for me to learn more about IBM's CSR program from your perspective. Dying for the day.
Hey, Justina. It's a great honor to listen to your speech. Thanks for your valuable information. This will definitely give us better understanding for IBM CSR. Thank you.
Hello, Christina. I'm really looking forward to your speech. It will definitely be an enjoyable and valuable experience for me and my classmates to learn more about IBM and CRS. Can't wait for your speech.
Hi, Justina. I can't wait to listen to your speech. I need to do a research about IBM this semester, so I'm so excited to have a opportunity to listen your perspective about IBM.
Hi Justina, thanks for coming and giving us an opportunity to listen to your ideas and opinions. I think I'll benefit a lot from your experience and learn more about IBM, especially the CSR part. Thank you.
So before I pass it back to Michael for the ending, on my behalf, I would like to thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. It was my pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Well, Justina, I just want to thank you on behalf of the School of Professional Studies. You probably know something about us. We, possibly have one of the largest graduate programs in marketing and PR in the country, and proudly recently won the PR Week Award for Best Outstanding Education Program of the Year. And, at our heart, we are really committed communicators and marketers, all of whom I believe aspire to do the kind of work you're doing and leading at IBM. And so it's just a pleasure to learn from you and listen. And I hope this is just the beginning of a deeper relationship, between us and IBM, especially in this area. And we're looking forward to welcoming some of your other colleagues who are going to speak perhaps to some of the more business aspects like AI or more classic business aspects, I should say, yes, like AI and cloud computing. But we are delighted that you were the one who could kick off the series. And thank you so much for joining our community. Really, I learned a lot, and I appreciated your engagement with all of us. So, and to George, of course, our troubadour, our leader, and just a wonderful experience curated yet again. Thank you very much, George, and all of his class.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
All right.